So I thought long and hard about this, and I've decided that this is going to be my final season as Wycombe boss in this series. As I've decided after 5 seasons with Wycombe, I think that might be the end of our journey here. Depending on what happens this season, if we get relegated or if we get promoted, I might consider about another season. But I think, you know, we are probably at the end of our tether with Wycombe, and I have definitely fucked up, and that is why it's my last season at the club. I probably should have started with that. In the last episode, we took on Huddersfield Town away from home in the final game of our 4th season in the Championship, and after going 1-0 up at the break, we ended up losing by 3-1. That defeat did secure us our 11th place finish, which is the highest ever position Wycombe Wanderers have ever had in their history, and it most likely will be because it's going to be their only season in the Championship in real life, because they're about to get relegated at the time of recording. Oh, did someone not be able to keep Wycombe Wanderers in the Championship? I think I did. Now, the first bit of good news I got during the pre-season was that one of our younger academy team members was poached by Charlton. I mean, what is he, an egg? Yeah, this is definitely my last season at the club. The media also made some reports that apparently there was a lot of transfer speculation regarding my second choice striker Keenan Davis because of a release clause in his contract of $3.3 million. That wasn't until I looked at the second line of the report and it said that no clubs were interested in him. So what was the point of writing the article then? Imagine going to university to do a 3-year journalism degree and that's what you write. Absolute morons. Harry Clark has also signed a new 3-year deal at the club and he's going to stay here until 2027. He had a fairly decent season for us last year. He's a good backup for us, and then I proceeded to go and loan him out to Doncaster for the rest of the season. And if you think that piece of transfer business was bad, I mean, wait to see what's coming up later. Trevor Clark has also left the club to join Coventry City for $275k. He's been a very good servant for me for the last 3 years, a very decent player, but I feel like we can get some better options in. Robbie Cundy has also left the club to join Cardiff on loan, who have just been promoted back to the Championship. We've also tied down Alex Samuel to a new 3-year deal at the club, and he's improved his wages once again. He's been a fairly decent servant for us recently. Didn't score as many goals last season as I hoped, but he is a good option to have as a backup. Leicester missed out on promotion last season from the Championship back to the Premier League, and they decided to splash out £58 million for Evan Nilsson from Chelsea. I mean, Evan Nilsson was playing for Chelsea a lot last season, and Leicester just spent £58 million to bring him to the Championship, and this is what I have to compete with. Now, one of the first things that I decided to do was bring in a new goalkeeper because I needed some more competition for Daniel Grimshaw. So joining us for £300,000 from Huddersfield Town is Marcin Buka. He's a very good goalkeeper to have. I mean, he didn't have an amazing season with Huddersfield last year, but I mean, his stats are pretty decent, and he's also got experience of playing for top-level clubs such as Chelsea and Paris Saint-Germain. So he's definitely a good option to have, and he was fairly cheap as well. But he'll most likely be our first choice goalkeeper this season, and Daniel Grimshaw will be relegated to second choice, despite Daniel Grimshaw having a good season last year, but I feel like we just need a stronger person in between the sticks. At the end of the season Championship review, we were named as the biggest overachievers because apparently the media expected us to finish bottom of the league, and we finished 11th place. I don't know how many more times I have to say that I finished 11th place because, you know, it's probably my greatest achievement at the club. The board also came back to me and said that they've accepted my request to increase the wages available to me to hire a director of football, and I have to admit I did not put that in to the pigeonhole at all. I mean, to be brutally honest, I don't even know if I have a director of football. Before a pre-season training camp in Portugal, I realised that we are very short-staffed at the moment. We have 3 midfielders in the squad. I mean, this is not a good look. The first day of the season also saw us kick off our campaign against Aston Villa, who have just been recently relegated from the Premier League. And of course, our final game of the season is away at Southampton, so that probably is actually the promotion-winning game. I also got a news article saying that we have now broken our average attendance high for last season because we hit about 8,000 fans last year. I mean, it's not a surprise that more people want to see me in charge. Adam Phillips has also left the club at the end of his contract. I really should have actually tied him down to a new contract because I just mentioned a few minutes ago that we've only got 3 midfielders at the club. Daniel Lundaloo has also joined Preston North End for the season. They just recently got relegated from the Championship, actually. So I'm hoping that he gets some playing time because, you know, as I did mention probably a couple of episodes ago, he's now my 3rd choice left winger, and he's not really going to get the amount of game time that I'd hope to give him. So one of the trialists that I brought in over the summer because I wanted to have a better look at him and see how he performed in the side, he tore his knee ligaments in a friendly, which means he's now out for 4 months. I mean, sorry, mate. I feel like I should offer him a contract just to say I'm sorry. Now, the second signing I wanted to make was to bring in a new number 10 into the club, and I've been looking at this player for a couple of seasons. I tried to bring him in last season, but I couldn't afford him. But this season I was able to. So joining us for £925,000 from Middlesbrough is Mark Helm. He's a player that played for Manchester United back in the day as a youth player, but he's had a fairly decent season with Middlesbrough. But I think he is definitely the best option for us to have as a number 10. but he's had 2 fairly decent seasons recently with AFC Wimbledon in League One and with Hearts in the SPL, so it was definitely a good player that I wanted to bring in. And to be honest, with some of the players that are developing at the club like they are, I mean, this player could actually turn out to be a very good player for us. So over the summer, I also looked at another midfielder called Dan Crowley, who would actually look like a very good fit at the club, and I asked my director of football to, sort out the transfer. He only offered 2.3k. The guy's valued at 4.2 million. I've really fucked this up, haven't I? Now, my final transfer that I've made during the summer transfer window was to bring in a new right winger, because we only have Liam Cullen on that wing, and Alex Samuel is a decent option to have, but they're just not match winners. And joining us from Tottenham Hotspur on loan for the season is Alex Blazer. He's a very good option to have. He's played the last 2 seasons at Millwall. I know they've just been relegated from the Championship, but he's been fairly decent for them. But I think in a better side like mine, he will actually explode. But I do have to explain one thing about this signing, and I've completely fucked the club in the process. So when I first found this player on the transfer list, I decided to put in a bid for him and wasn't really looking at how much wages we were paying and his monthly fee. I've just found out that we are paying 136k a month for him and paying his full wages, which means that it's 1.5 million for the season, which was the rest of my transfer budget, which means I've got no money left to spend. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. In my bid to reduce the wage bill, I completely failed, as I ended up giving EK Ogbo a new deal and then increased his wages again. So I was reminded that Teddy Bishop will get a new 1-year extension on his contract if he completes 10 games this season and we avoid relegation, which, to be honest, is probably going to happen. I mean, the appearing in 10 games, yeah, but not avoiding relegation. I mean, have you seen how much I've decimated the squad? My assistant manager then, before our first game against Aston Villa, said that he was pinning our hopes on Liam Cullen, who then proceeded to get injured the day after and put himself out for the month. Now, we have played 1 game off camera before the start of the season, and we do take on Sheffield Wednesday in this episode, but we were going to be taking on Aston Villa, but I live-commed the game. Nothing happens. We drew 0-0 against a team that were recently relegated. I was hoping they would thrash us. I was also only able to name 5 players on the bench as well, because I've got no players in the squad. But now we move into our game against Sheffield Wednesday away from home, and I'm not really looking forward to this because the squad is on its last legs already. We're in the 2nd game of the season. This is my fault completely. Martin Buka will be the man that I put in between the sticks, as we decided to drop Daniel Grimshaw onto the bench and make him our 2nd choice goalkeeper this season. The back 4 is pretty much the only fit defenders I've got currently in the side. So Miles Kenlock will play at left back, with Keane Bryan and Zach Medley being our 2 centre backs, and Barley Mumba being our right back. Alex Patterson and Teddy Bishop will be our 2 central midfielders in this game. Morgan Whittaker will take his place on the left wing, with Alex Blesser making his debut on the right wing, and Mark Helmer also making his debut in the number 10 role, with Niall Ennis, who was our top goal scorer last season and the top goal scorer in the Championship, leading the line. And I've only got 7 substitutes to pick from. Like, literally, after the 7 substitutes, there's no players available. Okay, I may have not mentioned it this episode yet, but I'm actually very worried. The fact I'm just able to name a good enough team to actually play against Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship, it really says a lot about my transfer business. But to be honest, saying that, Sheffield Wednesday are one of those teams that we've had, a moderate amount of success against. So, there is reason to be a bit hopeful. But to be honest, there is no reason to worry, as Alex Blazer then got down the right-hand side and put the ball into the box for Niall Ennis to slot home and give us a 1-0 lead within a minute of kickoff. To be honest, I've spunk the entire transfer budget on Alex Blazer to bring him to the club. If he doesn't at least get a goal and assist every single game this season, I'm going to be bitterly disappointed. About 10 minutes later, we had a corner headed out of the Sheffield Wednesday box, and it found its way to Morgan Whittaker, who then ran down the wing and got the ball into the box, but then ended up losing the ball. And as Sheffield Wednesday went to clear it, they ended up firing the ball straight into Niall Ennis' head, and it went into the back of the net. I mean, how does that make any sense? I generally don't think Niall Ennis is ever going to score a more ridiculous goal in his career. You try to explain that to anyone who wants to play Football Manager. Tried to explain that to them. Morgan Whittaker then couldn't continue in the game and had to be subbed off after 15 minutes, which means that's another injury I have to add to my threadbare squad. Bob Duncan then stole the ball on the halfway line and then ran behind our defence, but under pressure from the covering defenders, then only proceeded to fire the ball wide. I mean, with shooting like that, there is literally no reason to be worried. But Bob Duncan would be involved in the next highlight for Sheffield Wednesday, as he laid the ball off for Deli Basharu to hit a shot from 25 yards, which Bulkar put over the bar. And half-time came around and we were 2-0 up at the break. I mean, what was I worried about at all? Like, I'd said, it's a threadbare squad. I don't really have that many players in my team. I don't think we're going to win this game. And we're 2-0 up. I mean, let's take into account that it is still half-time. Anything can happen now. And then just before the hour mark, John Flanagan put the ball into the box for Sam Gallagher to head past our goalkeeper. I mean, I'm not really sure what our goalkeeper is doing. I feel like he could have saved that. I think a traffic cone could have saved that, to be honest. It was just after this goal where I decided to make a tactical change and brought on Alex Samuel to play on the right wing and then moved Alex Blazer into the attacking midfielder role, bringing off Mark Helm. And it paid off a couple of minutes later as Miles Kenlock put a fantastic ball into the box for Alex Samuel to head home and give us a 3-1 lead. That boy really is earning his new contract, he is. But Sheffield Wednesday weren't done there yet, and they did the exact same thing as they did for their first goal as John Flanagan put the ball into the box for Sam Gallagher to head past my goalkeeper. It would be nice if I had actual defenders in my team. I don't know how we done it, but my threadbare squad managed to hold on for the 3-2 win at Hillsborough and managed to secure all 3 points. I'm honestly contemplating cancelling training because I don't want any of my players getting injured. We're fucked otherwise. I like how I'm not putting any of the blame on myself, and it is all my fault.